Hello, everyone. Welcome to Diego Knows. I'm Diego. And today I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about one of my favorite film franchises of all time, and that is the Karate Kid film franchise. Now, just so you know, am a big fan of the Cobra Kai show, and I did finish watching season 4 recently. That just came out. I'm going to do a separate review on those. Okay. What I wanted to talk about today was what the Karate Kid franchise was to me personally, how it inspired me, and how it affected my life to this day. Okay. So to go back in time a little bit, the original Karate Kid franchise, the one with Pat Morita and Ralph Macchio, not the one with Will Smith's son, um, and what's his name, Jackie Chan. Not that one. Okay, that was a piece of crap. Now I do know Will Smith owns the rights to the Karate Kid, so you can't do Cobra Kai or Karate Kid without Will Smith. You know, he's an executive producer. But no, I'm talking about the original franchise. Okay, the one from 1984. Now, just to set the time period for me, the reason I'm talking about this is that I believe that there's a lot of boys out there, a lot of men out there that can relate to what I went through and how this film franchise inspired me. Now, if you've seen my other videos, especially the Rocky ones, I did a two-part review on Rocky 4. I talked a lot about Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, how he was my inspiration, how I wanted to be like him when I grew up, and all that stuff. All that stuff is true. But for me, Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, his character, for me, he was an ideal. As a little boy, I saw him in the Rocky movies, Rambo, whatever. I saw him, and I wanted to be like him when I grew up. When I knew that when I became an adult, I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be like Sylvester Stallone. You know, he was my role model. Someday when I got older, I wanted to be like him. I knew that, okay? But at the time, I was a child. I was still a little boy, you know? So as I grew up, as I got a little bit older, you know, the Rocky movies was something that was far off in the distance for me. It was someplace I wanted to get to eventually. But where I was at that time in my life, though, in actuality, I was still a kid, you know, preteen, whatever. And I was going through a lot of stuff at that time. And it was not very good. All right. So to go back in time, you got to remember here, I'm from Chicago. That's where I was born. And my family, my mother, when my folks separated, my older brother, we moved to Texas, okay? Because my parents decided they were going to give it another shot. So by this time, I was probably like 7 or 8 years old when my parents got back together. Because before that, my dad wasn't around at all. Now, my parents didn't stay together very long, but this is the early 80s. And my dad left pretty soon after they got back together. But now we're living in Texas instead of living in Illinois. Now, in Illinois, I went to a Catholic school with my older brother, private school, you know. So, you know, we all knew each other since preschool and stuff, you know. We lived in a very small town. When I got to Texas, though, I started going to public school. And the neighborhood that I lived in was it was very lower middle class. And it was mostly white kids. In fact, I didn't go to school with a black kid until I think I was in junior high. But in elementary school, you know, I think when we moved to Texas, I think I was in third grade. Yeah, like third grade when we moved to Texas. This is the early 80s. And, you know, I'm Mexican, obviously, you know, but I speak perfect English, you know. But, you know, I went to school with a bunch of white kids, mostly white kids. And these kids were rough. I'm talking about wrestling. I'm talking about some of them lived in trailer parks. You know, the Ozzy Osbourne T-shirts. You know, these were third graders with long hair. Okay, you know, and they saw me as an outsider. I was a very shy kid. I was a very quiet kid. You know, I did what I was told. I never talked back to the teachers. You know, I didn't swear out loud, nothing like that. You know, I was a very shy, conservative kid. I was really into like my cartoons and my comic books. You know, these were my escapes from life. You know, I wasn't into like the things that other boys were into. You know, not because I didn't want to do them. It's just that, you know, I was raised by a single mom. I mean, come on. You think mom was going to take me fishing? Think she was going to take me hunting or bike riding? You know, she wasn't. Or camping? No. My mom was working all the time. She was going to do stuff like that. I was raised by the TV set. And And I read a lot of comic books. That was my passion. I love to draw. I love to read comic books, the cartoons and stuff. Like I was really into Marvel comics, the stuff that they're making billion-dollar movies out of right now. That's the stuff that I was into, okay, in the early 80s. And that kind of separated me a lot from the other kids. The other kids wanted to play sports. They wanted to play football and baseball, and all this stuff that I just wasn't physical. I wasn't very good at that stuff, In PE class, I was the last one picked. And because I was Mexican and because I was socially awkward. Like I said, I was coming from Illinois. I didn't have any friends. These kids that I went to school with, they all grew up together. They all knew each other since preschool, So they already had friendship ties, and I didn't. I was an outsider. So I was a victim of harassment. I was bullied. I was bullied a lot. It wasn't a good time in my life. I remember getting chased home from school. I remember, and when they bully you, those you boys that have been through this, you understand they don't bully you one-on-one. Okay, it's like 4-on-1. Okay, it's like they all kick your ass. It's not just one guy challenging you. Okay, no, when they corner you, it's like 5 guys. And even if you get a hit in, the other 4 are going to knock you down. They're going to hit you too. So you're fucked either way. Either you fight back or you run away, but they'll catch you because one of them is going to be fast enough to catch you. And a lot of stuff that they don't tell you about. When you're getting bullied, you had this, a lot of people, they had this idea that, it's the bad kids at school that are doing the bullying. It's not. It's not. The kids that are doing the bullying are the popular kids. Okay? The kids that are very, very popular. Okay? It's not the outsiders. It's not the violent kids. It's the kids that are popular, the kids that everyone respects. The kids that all the girls want to go out with, they want to date. Okay? The good-looking kids. The richer kids. These are the kids that do the bullying. Okay? And, the football players. The popular kids. Those are the ones that do the bullying. It's not the artsy-fartsy kids. It's a big misconception. You always think that in the 80s, you got to make them think someone like, maybe like Bender from, Breakfast Club or something doing bullying. Yeah, those guys do bullying too, okay? But more than not, it's more like the jocks. It's more like the popular kids, the athletes, Those are the ones that do the bullying. And I was a victim of that a lot. I can't tell you how many times I was called names, racial slurs, I was called wetbag, I was called beaner, I was called all sorts of things, And I got my ass kicked a lot. I did. And I didn't fight back. I didn't know how to fight back. I didn't have a dad around. I had no role models. My role models were in the TV set. My role models were drawings in a comic book. They weren't real people, not people that I had access to. I had nobody to teach me how to defend myself. I had an older brother, but he was more scared of the bullies than I was. And then I had a mom who was so busy trying to make ends meet, she didn't have time to worry about, kids kicking my ass. She had other things to do, So it wasn't a good time in my life. And I remember probably around junior high, or maybe before that, I think I was like 11 years old when the Karate Kid came out. Now, at the time, I had no idea that it was the same director who did the Rocky movies, who did Rocky 1 and later did Rocky 5, John G. Allison. But when the Karate Kid came out, I don't think I saw it in the theater, but I think I saw it on cable. And I just remember watching this movie on TV, and I couldn't separate the movie from my real life. I was a victim, and the movie got it right. Like those kids, the popular kids, the good-looking, rich, athletic, popular kids that are beating up Daniel LaRusso. Yeah, that's what I was going through. Okay, it was the rich, popular kids. By this time, I was in junior high. Yeah, those are the kids that were kicking my ass. And I resonated with the movie so much because here you got an outsider. I'm from Chicago, and Daniel is from New Jersey. So we're both from the north. And Daniel moves west, and I move south. But those jocks, those rich fucking arrogant assholes that own the school, that run the school, they can just like pick on you and shove you in a locker or just, because they know no one's going to do anything to them, because they're the popular kids, and, like the movie got it right. Got it right. But whenever I tell people about the Karate Kid, I think, okay, well, what was my life growing up in junior high and high school? Okay, well, it was like the Karate Kid. But one, I didn't have a beautiful, hot girl that wanted to go out with me. Two, I didn't have a sage sensei martial art master to teach me, you know? So, other than those two things, yeah, the Karate Kid was, pretty much what it was like for me, you know? And I tell you, when I saw that movie, I wanted a Mr. Miyagi because, like I said, Stallone was what I wanted to be. He was the ideal that I wanted to be eventually. But Daniel LaRusso, Ralph Macchio's Daniel LaRusso, that was who I was at that time in my life. The same time this movie came out, this is what I was going through. And I can't tell you all the times I came home from school crying. I can't tell you all the times I had a black eye. All the times that, my stuff, just got thrown away or got ruined. When you're bullied in school, everyone knows it. And everyone takes shots at you. Not everyone, I guess, but if they know that you're going to get bullied, if they know that you're a victim of being bullied and you can't do anything about it, other people are going to bully you too. And it's not just the boys, it's the girls too. Girls bullied me too, not physically, but in other ways. They throw shit at me because they know, what am I going to do? The other kids, the kids that weren't as popular, well, you can bully Diego. We'll bully him too because he ain't going to do nothing. And that's the truth. That's the truth of life. It's a living fucking hell. And I didn't know any way out of it. I was terrified of going to school. I didn't want to go to school. I just wanted to be home, read my comic books. Just leave me alone. But of course, that's not what I got. I was very beta. I was very I didn't know any better at the time. I was just a little kid. But I was I appeared very weak. I projected weakness in my demeanor, my posture, my clothes. I couldn't look at anyone in the eye. I wore these big glasses, which are always broken or chipped or something. Yes, I had the Scotch tape on the side of the glass. Yes, I had that. My mom couldn't afford contacts back then. Remember, this is the 80s. This wasn't like today. So yeah, I got bullied a lot. I got beat up a lot. And I hated it. And here's this movie that was dealing with the same things that I was going through, And I got to tell you, I got some inspiration from it. I did. No, I didn't have a Mr. Miyagi in my life. I had nobody in my life to teach me anything about self-defense, about self-respect. I didn't know what self-respect was, But eventually, I managed to, I got a job when I was 14. I got a job working at an ice cream store. And with the money that I made working at the ice cream store, I put that into taking martial arts. I put that into taking karate. Luckily, there was a place right by my house, right by my job too, where I could go there and then go to work. Or on the weekends, I could go there after work, And that became like my second home, the dojo, And I studied Genjikai karate. I was 14 years old. I remember that. And I took karate for 2 years. And I say by the time I was 16, I was already in high school now. I wasn't in junior high anymore. I was in high school now. And I was not getting bullied as much anymore. We'll just put it that way. But I learned a lot of basics. I learned a lot of fundamentals, And I learned how to develop a backbone, how to stand up for myself. Now, I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, I won all the fights after that. No, I didn't. Okay, I got my ass kicked still. Even when I was going to martial arts, I did. But I didn't always get my ass kicked. And sometimes I put up a better fight than I thought I would. And that got me some respect. And there's one thing about bullies is they're going to go after the easy target. They're going to go after whoever's going to put up the least resistance. So when the bullies realize that if they pick on me, yeah, they might kick my ass, but I'm not going to make it easy on them. They're going to go pick on someone who's going to make it easy for them. Okay, rather than the one who's going to fight back, And maybe one of them will get hurt, So that's what happened to me. But like I said, it wasn't an easy road. And martial arts helped me a lot to develop my self-confidence, develop a sense of peace inside that I didn't have before, And the inspiration for that was the Karate Kid. I watched that movie, and it opened up so many doors. It taught me that you don't have to live like this. You don't have to just accept the fact that you're going to be bullied the rest of your life. That you're always going to feel like you're beneath other people. There's always going to be people that are better than you. This movie's taught me that, because that's what I was going through. So when I watched it, I love. Of course, it was a very popular movie. Everyone at school was talking about it, and I really resonated with the relationship with Mr. Miyagi and Daniel, because Daniel, like me, was getting bullied, but Daniel was different than me. Daniel, a lot of people don't realize this, okay, and they expand more of it on Cobra Kai, but Daniel was kind of an asshole, okay. And what I mean by that is there are situations that Daniel's in where he could have walked away, but he provoked the beast, okay? He provoked Johnny and his friends. I immediately think of that time at the dance, the Halloween dance, where he was dressed as a shower curtain, and he sees the skeleton Johnny, rolling up a joint in the bathroom, and he puts that hose over him. He didn't have to do that, okay? He knew goddamn well that if he did that, they were going to kick his ass. Him and his buddies were going to kick his ass. He knew that, but he did it anyway, because it was more important for him to humiliate Johnny than it was for him to cover his own ass. And because of that, he almost died that night. I mean, Johnny was very, very close to beating him to death. And if Mr. Miyagi hadn't shown up, he might have done that. He might have beaten him to death. And I understood that. Okay, I know what it's like to get your ass kicked by 5 guys. I know what it's like to get your ass kicked by 15 guys. I've been there. It's not a good feeling. I know what it's like to get punched over and over again by different people, and so I understood that part of the movie, and I always thought, like, Daniel, the character of Daniel, even though he was the one getting beat up all the time, he was actually had more guts than I did, because I wouldn't have provoked the beast. I was scared. I would run away. Daniel would stand up and fight. He'd get his ass kicked, but he'd stand up and fight. And I had nowhere near that kind of courage that Daniel had. But things got better when I learned martial arts, and it was because of those movies. The spirituality behind it, Mr. Miyagi's wise advice. The stuff that he went through. His family was in an internment camp. A lot of people forget to talk about. They never make movies about this, okay? But most people know. It's not in any history book. You got to look it up yourself. But most people know that in the 1940s, they were concentration camps in the United States for Asian Americans, specifically for Japanese Americans. But come on, they didn't fucking care. If you were Asian, they put you in a fucking internment camp, okay? And you know who did that? FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It was his idea. He implemented it. Okay. Now we don't talk about that. We always talk about slavery. We always talk about that. We always talk about racism. Okay. We always talk about, the Germans and their concentration camps in Europe and how evil they were, right? But we never talk about the ones that we had here. We never talk about that. Like, you have to dig up the information on it, but we did. We had a lot of we call them internment camps, but they were concentration camps. All right. No, we didn't gas them, but if you got out of line, yeah, you got raped, you got killed, you got beat up. Yes, all that stuff happened here. There's an actor I think about right now, George Takei. He played Sulu on Star Trek. Like, he grew up in an internment camp. Okay, and I'm sure he's written about it and done interviews about it. You want to know? Look him up. Okay, he grew up in an internment camp. All right, that's how bad it was here. Yeah, Democrats. But anyway, so like his character, while he was off fighting in World War against his own people, his family died because they couldn't get good medical care in an internment camp. His wife died giving birth to their daughter. There wasn't any decent medical care in an internment camp. So while he was off fighting in the war, his wife and child died. And I think that was a testament to how good the story was. Here you've got this guy, Mr. Miyagi, he's always giving this sage advice. He's always giving this, philosophies and Buddhist teachings, about life, and here there's that one scene where he's just drunk out of his ass because, he's remembering his wife and his daughter that didn't live, And Daniel's there, and Daniel's got his own problems, and he realized that his own teacher is hurting too, you know, and that for me, I could understand that. I could understand, like, okay, you know what, we're all humans. Something that taught me that my own suffering, my own pain that I was going through, everyone's going through pain. It's not just me. It's hard to see outside of your own suffering to look at the suffering of other people. It's easy to get caught up in just what you're going through and not see that everyone is suffering in some form. There's a word for it. It's called empathy. Not everybody's got their shit together, and not everybody is happy with who they are or where they are in life. And sometimes I think you have to understand that before you go off and start feeling sorry for yourself. And I love that lesson that was in there, about that. There's so much I loved about Karate Kid. I loved the way Mr. Miyagi tricked Daniel into learning karate by having him do chores around the house. The wax on, wax off, paint the fence, sand the floor, um, you know, paint the house. I mean, all that stuff was brilliant, but it worked. Um, I like the idea of Johnny, Johnny and his crew, the Cobra Kais. They were a bunch of assholes. They didn't really get very much deep into those characters. Okay, they were the bullies. They're the bullies that I went to school with. If you remember, William Zabka had a career in the 80s of playing nothing but bullies. Okay, there's that Back to School movie, Rodney Dangerfield. He was a bully. There's that She's the Man, where the girl pretends to be a boy at school. He's a bully in that one. I mean, there's a lot of movies where he's a bully, okay, where he's just like the blonde bully guy, in the 80s. He was like the resident, bully, the resident asshole, the Biff Tannen of the 80s, So he had kind of a thing for, he was kind of known for that. And all those guys, all those Cobra Kai guys were assholes. Bobby, and so Bobby, and then I know Dutch. That was Steve McQueen's son. Chad McQueen played Dutch, and Tony O'Dell played one of them. And I remember Tony O'Dell from Head of the Class. Remember that show, Head of the Class? One of those smart kids in high school in New York. That sitcom. Yeah, he played Alan. He was the Republican, the one Republican in the class. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The bullies didn't get much characterization. There was just a bunch of assholes. But who got more characterization was Kreese. Their evil instructor. The Vietnam vet that was teaching them how to strike first, strike hard, show no mercy. That the evil karate teachers. It's like there's no such thing as a bad student, only a bad teacher. And that was so right. It's so right. And so they got a little bit of sympathy because the kids weren't bad. The bullies weren't bad. They had a bad teacher that taught them to be that way. And it's not until Cobra Kai that we really get some characterization of who they are. But at that time, they were just the bad guys, and Daniel was the good guy. Because he was the victim. He was the one that kept getting beat up. Later on, they make the argument that Daniel was more of a jerk. I mean, he was trying to pick up Allie, Elizabeth Shue, and that was Johnny's ex-girlfriend. Johnny was still in love with her, and here's this fucking skinny little twerp from New Jersey, trying to make moves on his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend. So yeah, he kicked his ass, total Chad move, total bully move. But I can see his point of view. Yeah, this guy was a threat to his relationship. He wanted to get back with her, and here's this guy making his moves on her, and she's liking him. So yeah, of course he got pissed off, Doesn't excuse his behavior, but I can see why he would have more of a rivalry or have more hatred towards Daniel than like a typical, geek at school, So there's that going on. And of course, Miyagi, teaching him, the tournament was good. I remember later on when I would start doing tournaments and stuff, I would always think about that first one that I saw in the Karate Kid, where they were fighting. That was beautiful. You're the best around, and nothing's ever going to keep you down. You're the best around, And some of the acting was really good too. I remember that scene where Dutch, one of the Cobra Kai guys, confronts Daniel in the locker room before the tournament. He's just like, come on, He's like, you're mine, I saw that, and that's Chad McQueen. That's Steve McQueen's son. And I saw that, and I was like, dude, that is what the bullies at school look like. Look at that scene again where Chad McQueen is like looking, he's like giving him the killer eyes, Daniel the killer eyes. Daniel's just a fucking kid. He's just a kid, and this guy's looking at him like, I'm gonna kill you. You know, the way he did it, your ass is mine. You know, like, that's the way. That was what I had to go through every fucking day at school. I had to put up with guys looking at me like that, treating me like that. You know, that was realistic. Even to this day, the reason I'm even bringing it up is that scene strikes close to home right here. Because that's what it was like for me in the 80s. To be bullied all the fucking time. So yeah, those movies meant a lot to me. Later on, we got into the Karate Kid Part 2, where they go off to Okinawa. You know, you meet Chosen there, the evil, you know, the Japanese version of Johnny. You know, Sensei, you know, was Miyagi's friend. But you know, I like that movie a lot too, just because it was a change of pace. And now we're in Okinawa. He's in a different culture. He's an American in Okinawa, and you know, I was in the Marines. Okay, so we have a base over there. Okay, so I got to see it myself. But you know, just being a different culture, you know, he falls in love with that Japanese girl, and you know, Kumiko, you know, and I thought it was nice. I liked it. I liked that, especially like the beginning of Karate Kid 2, where Kreese was pissed off at his students for failing. You know, it's Johnny in particular for not winning the championship. He should have won it, but Daniel won it with his crane kick. You know, which I guess was an illegal move, but no one paid attention to that. And you know, he was choking out his own student. You know, and the other guys were like, you know, hey, leave him off. He's sorry, you know. And then Miyagi had to step in there and talk to Kreese. And I remember what Miyagi told him after he, you know, he didn't even hit Kreese. Kreese just broke his own hands, you know, and Miyagi let him go. But he says something to Daniel. He says, you know, a man with no forgiveness in his own heart, living life worse than death. And that's so true. That is very true. If you can't forgive people, something that I learned the hard way, the very hard way. If you can't forgive people for the bad things they've done to you, you're not going to know how to forgive. Because you only learn how to forgive by doing it. But it's a double-edged sword. Because if you don't forgive the people that hurt you, you won't be able to forgive yourself for the things that you've done. And that is a much worse life to live. And I don't want to live my life like that. That's a living hell. I've seen people do that. When you see people that die unhappy, that's why. So yeah, I took that message to heart. Anyway, I like Chosen. I like the fight at the end, because the real fight is not for points, Daniel-san. You know, that was really good. So much of it was good. And then we go into Karate Kid Part 3. And I know this is the one that a lot of people didn't like it. You know, I mean, they had like a Steven Seagal knockoff in the movie. You know, by this time it's 1989. I'm already in high school, and you know, I'm not so much getting bullied anymore. Because, like I said, I'm fighting now. So, you know, it was kind of cheesy. You know, kind of go back to the original movie. Kreese comes back, but we get a new Kreese. We get Terry Silva, who's basically a Steven Seagal stand-in. They couldn't get Steven Seagal, so they got this guy. They got another ponytail to do it, okay? And I've seen him in some of his other movies. He is a real martial artist. Like, he really can't fight. Like, he is an honest-to-God martial artist, for real. He's not faking those moves. But they got him, you know, and he's like this evil Highlander. And, you know, the Duncan MacLeod, you know, before Duncan MacLeod. Okay. Because 89 was before 92 in the Highlander show. But anyway, so yeah, he's got the ponytail, you know, he's out there teaching Daniel how to be evil, you know, the dark side, you know, manipulate. It was a cheesy story, it was, but I liked it. I loved Thomas Ian Griffin as Terry Silva. I loved it. This was so fucking over the top. He's smiling and giggling like a bad guy, you know. He's He's always, just like he's just so, or his performance was just so over the top, evil. But when he played a nice guy, he was so nice and compassionate and sweet. And then like when no one's looking, he's like, like just like that. No subtlety at all. I mean, he went for it. You don't think you're gonna get me? I mean, he's just like he's way out there, but hey, it works. It works. This guy was a bastard. He was an asshole. And then he hired this bully. Mike Barnes, who's this karate champion. He's just ruthless. Worse than Johnny. And he has no problem kicking Daniel's ass. Threatens to almost lets him die if he doesn't sign the contract to compete in the tournament. And because Miyagi doesn't want to help him, so Daniel gets trained by Terry, and then he finds out it was all a big manipulation. And Terry, like he tricks them into going to the dojo to get his ass kicked. Like, how's he going to compete if he's in the hospital? So there's a lot of plot holes in it. But Mr. Miyagi comes in to save the day like he does in all three movies. He comes in and kicks everyone's ass who's beating up Daniel's son, and he does it again, And at the end, where he's got to fight Mark Barnes, Terry Silva makes that speech. We're going to open Cobra Kai dojos all over the America, He's just like such an over-the-top asshole, What did he do for a living anyway? I mean, I knew he was a multi-millionaire, but he said something. I guess he dumped toxic waste or something. He's like, I can't do one tip a year when I get lost, while I get sued or something like that. Do you fight as good as you negotiate? Do you fight as hard as you negotiate? Harder. Good. Yeah. So I mean, it was over the top. It was cheesy, but I liked it. And at the end, he does his kata. Instead of doing the crane, Danielson does his kata, confuses Mike, and then takes him out. Yeah, so it's what it was. But I liked it. I know a lot of people didn't like it, and it buried the franchise. It did. It killed the franchise for a long time. But then they did come up with a part 4. But Ralph Macchio was not in the 4th one. It was Hilary Swank. I forgot. I tell you what. I think I've seen the movie once. Like, I have it here. You see this? Okay, I got all the movies here. All right, but I think I've seen this one maybe once or twice, and it made no impression on me. I mean, I saw it before anyone knew who Hilary Swank was. I didn't even know it was her. I had to look. After she won the Academy Award or something, she won like 2 Academy Awards. When she became famous in Hollywood again, then I started looking up her other movies. I was like, oh, that was the girl from Credit 4. Like, that was the one that I only saw once and never watched it again. It was stupid. I couldn't tell you too much about it. I just remember Mr. Miyagi's in it, and Hilary Swank is in it, and Michael Ironside is in it. And that's it. It wasn't very good. There's a scene where Miyagi takes a bunch of those Buddhist monks, whatever. I guess he goes to the temple or something. He takes them out of there and they go bowling. Like, it was dumb. I just wish that had not been Pat Morita's last performance as Mr. Miyagi, because I know he passed away. But yeah, that's about it. It was very. It was like a straight to DVD type movie. It's not something you would pay money to go see at the theater. I actually saw a documentary. It's on Amazon Prime. I bought it about Mr. Miyagi, about Pat Morita, about his career. How he got into acting. He was a stand-up comedian, and I remember him from Happy Days. He was Arnold on Happy Days, but I remember him. He was on Sanford and Son. I was watching an episode of The Courtship of Eddie's Father. I watched that with my son because that's the shit that I used to watch, the reruns, and he was in an episode of that. So he was like just popping in and out of shows, TV shows back in the day. And I got to tell you, there's this movie, I think it's called Python, maybe not Python, but there's this movie, or King Snake or something like that. I'll look it up here real quick. But there's this movie he did. I actually own it. I wish I could tell you the name of it. But he plays this a snake expert, I guess like a herpetologist or something. He's like an expert on snakes. I think it's called King Cobra or something. I have to look it up real quick. But the rich girl, Kingdom Hearts. I'll find it here in just a second. Blunt movie, yeah. But yeah, I think it's called King Cobra. Let's see here. And it came out like back in the 90s. Yeah, King Cobra. That's right. It came out in 1999. It's called King Cobra. Folks, please look it up. Go find that movie. It's on Amazon Prime. I think it's free. I mean, I bought it because I love it, but you don't have to buy it. eBay it, whatever. It'll probably cost like $2 or $3. Okay, it's a piece of shit direct to video movie. It's called King Cobra. Came out in 1999. And the only actor that's famous is, Pat Morita. He's in it. I guess he wasn't in a good place in his career at the time. And oh my God, he should have won an Academy Award. All right. He plays this snake expert, and he's been bitten so many times by poisonous snakes that he has an immunity to them. But the problem is they've got this giant like monster like Jaws sized snake on the loose, killing people, eating people. So he's, of course, the scientist, the snake expert. He's got to help the cops, the law enforcement, hunt down the snake that's killing all these townspeople. This giant king cobra. God. At the climax of the movie, when they're fighting this cobra, it's like Pat Morita's there fighting him, and this snake keeps biting him. He's just like, oh my God, the absolute greatest death scene. I'm spoiling the movie, sorry, but the absolute greatest death scene I've ever seen in my entire life. Watch Pat Morita die in that movie at the end of the climax. Just watch the climax, okay? Just watch like the last 15 minutes, right? He's like, and the camera's spinning around. Oh my God, you gotta be high on drugs, okay? Now this is neither here nor there, but I just remember, I used to think that Mr. Miyagi was his greatest performance ever until I saw this piece of shit. King Cobra, 1999. Watch the last 15 minutes. It is incredible. It is incredible. Okay, but anyway, that's not about the Karate Kid. All right, so yeah, the franchise was pretty much dead after the next Karate Kid 4, and then it came back in Cobra Kai. And I got to tell you, Cobra Kai. I'm going to do a separate review on Cobra Kai, but Cobra Kai is by far. I mean, as I'm talking to you right now, this is 2022, January 2022. I'd say probably in the past 5 years, Cobra Kai is the best television show right now. The best television show I've seen in the past 5 years. Before that, I would say Daredevil was. But yeah, it's by far the best show on television right now for the past 5 years is Cobra Kai. That's absolutely, it's better than the movies. It's better. The movies were goddamn good, especially the first one. Like I said, it totally changed my life. But that TV series Cobra Kai is the best goddamn TV show right now. The absolute best. Unbelievable how good it is. We live in a culture right now where Hollywood's just rebooting everything from the 70s, from the 80s, from the 90s. It's getting rebooted again. But it's been failing. A lot of that stuff's been failing. And the reason it's been failing is because of the politics. They keep putting politics in there that people don't want to see. They just want to be entertained. They don't want to be lectured to about how, if you're white, you're racist, or you're, if you don't have a gay friend, if you never had sex with a guy, then you're a homophobe, that kind of thing. Like we don't want to be lectured to like that. We don't want to be taught that stuff, We just want to be entertained, And whenever they reboot something, they throw that in there, and it's just like, okay, well, we're not going to watch it now, And of course, they're going to blame it on sexism, homophobia, racism, whatever. They're never going to say it's because they created a piece of shit reboot. They're never going to say that.